Well, here we are again with Miss Janet Venturini, and she had a very serious life-altering experience, and but she's in good spirits. So, Jan, her husband transitioned into the most purest form possible. My condolences to you, Jan. Gary was a really good guy and fun guy, and I'm sure you've had years and years of memories. And
37
years.
37 years of memories. And actually, as I said to him, it doesn't end here. Because the real truth is, as I observed the process for him, it just reminds me I've helped so many babies be born. Mm-hmm. And there's a birthing process that requires breath. And when you leave the body behind, you're going into a birthing process as well, which requires breath, to go to the other side. So that's why I say there are no endings, there are only beginnings.
Well, before we go further, so I think it's important to let everybody know that Gary passed away because of liver cancer. That correct?
Is correct.
That is correct.
Yes.
So he fought for it for how long did he fight it?
He was diagnosed in September.
Okay.
And so
this was quick. This was quick.
It was very quick, except for the fact that he really kind of felt lousy since March of 2024. So he kind of felt lousy for a variety of reasons for a year, but the more intense part of the cancer was discovered in September, and so, it was pretty quick. But if anyone's ever been a caregiver for somebody, particularly with cancer, hospice is a wonderful organization that supports you. But it is very intense. I did all the caregiving. I didn't hire anyone. I did it myself. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest reasons is because of who I am. I'm a little different from other people because I communicate on both sides of the veil. Mm-hmm. And so actually, helping him leave, the one thing that I said to hospice, and I would say to your audience or anyone listening to this, is never interfere with a person's process, support them, but don't try to control it, because each of us comes in with a purpose, and part of the way that we're born and part of the way that we leave our body is part of our karma. Mm-hmm. And so it's critical that we allow it. And so, but I've already had communication from the very beginning from Gary. So I kind of have followed the process. And so, I don't know, I just feel like this is going to continue on. Who knows? It might be a book here for people. Because he's communicating all kinds of things from the other side of the veil, which I think allows people to feel more comfortable with the unknown. And I think that's really a critical part, is that we have a tendency to grieve because we're so afraid. We look at it as the end of something. And it might be the ending of a physical form, but it's not the end of anything else, because we're eternal. We're forever. We don't die. Actually, just the physical form does.
Well, where is Gary right now?
Oh, Gary's in the cosmos. This morning he said, wow. He gave me a blow-by-blow this morning of the whole process. And basically, I'll share it with you. I woke up on Saturday morning, like at 1:22, and I noticed that instead of the deep, racking breath that he'd been going through, he was going through shallow breaths. I went, he's reaching that point. So I went in the bathroom to get a little bit of morphine for him, just to ease the process. And then when I came back, I gave it to him, but then I put my hand on his heart, on his chest. And what he told me from the other side was, when I placed my hand on his heart, even though I've been telling him it's okay to let go, it was my hand on his chest that freed him. It released him. And so he just took a couple more breaths, and then he was gone. And so what he explained to me is that when he left his body, it was like being an arrow shot into the sky. Like shot. He said he went through this powerful, powerful experience of moving very quickly and sensing all around him this wonderful feeling of bliss, this ecstasy, this feeling of that everything around him was loving him into wherever he was going. He didn't know where he was going, except that he said he felt like he was in this vast, huge cosmos. He could see stars. He could see all Milky Ways. He could see everything. He said, and he didn't feel. He said it's sort of like you don't have to see it or hear it or feel it. You just know it. And so he said he expanded out, very vast. And the very first thing that he wanted to do, he was a softball player, right?
Right.
And a surfer. So the very first thing he wanted to do, he imagined, he said, I thought about a bat and a ball, and there it was. And so he thought he often hit this ball. So he hit the ball, and it went so far that he communicated to me, tell Rodney, I can hit a baseball here 1,000 feet.
Wow.
And so the humans, the sense of humor is still very, very much there. And then the dogs surrounded him, and of course our dog here started howling in the middle of the night, 2 nights after he died. And he told me the reason was because he was with all of our dogs who had passed on that were on the other side.
Wow.
And so our dog was connected to all those dogs. And he also told me that the reason I've been so very calm about the whole thing, he told me I was special. He said, you've helped so many people. That's who you are and what you've done your whole life. Therefore, he says, you're really being held up by so much energy from over here is why you're so calm and balanced about it all. And so, he said, right, he saw his mother and father, and he said they appeared like golden forms, not like dense forms, but he knew it was them. He said, it's not like you could see it was them or hear it was them, you just knew it was them. And that's the difference between there and here is you instantly know. And there's no judgment. There is no conflict. There is no, he said, his experience so far is nothing but absolute support, cooperation, love. And he said, God is in everything.
Well, let me ask you this: how do you communicate with him? I mean, how would he talk?
Well, actually, I learned this a long time ago because I used to pull people through my solar plexus in my eyes, and that caused me some discomfort in my body. So what I do is I ask, and it comes through the back of my head. Sometimes it just comes through the back of my head. And so, for instance, I'll use an example. I was just sitting in the living room with my son, and he said when Gary died Saturday morning, Larry was supposed to go in and do an inventory late that afternoon. He would have been up to like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning doing an inventory. And he was talking. He said, wow, Gary just saved me from an inventory. So I hear Gary in the back of my head say, you're welcome.
Nice.
It's like, okay. So, but what I do is I hear it in their voice. It's not like it's a thought in the back of my head through the hypothalamus, which is where we're kind of connected to our higher self is connected to us at the back, all right, through our pineal gland that goes out into the hypothalamus in the back of our head. And so when I pull them through that place, I hear their response in their voice. Now, my son's voice comes through exactly like it was here, and both of my sons, but Gary's does not. Gary's is a little different.
Well, okay, let me tell everybody that prior to Gary, you actually lost 2 sons.
Yes, that's correct.
So they preceded you, and so I think it's important to mention while you're mentioning about the communication with your son. So you have one son who's still alive, and you obviously have your grandchildren, but you have 2 sons prior.
Yes. I lost one son, my oldest son first, to colon cancer, and I lost my second son to lymphoma, and I lost Gary to liver cancer. So I've had 3 losses through cancer. And cancer is one of those diseases created to help people heal. I call it the healing disease because it gives people time to think about their life, to apologize, to be grateful, and to say goodbye that you don't have like with a heart attack or a stroke, you know? And so basically, since my 2 sons left, Todd and Rick, I have communicated with them, and they've even helped me in reading sometimes. And I can call on them, and And it's fascinating. But Gary's voice had more strength in it from over there than it had here. There was a trepidation here, a hesitation, sometimes a little fear. Here he doesn't have that. It's his tone, but it's his tone more assured, more confident. And he is loving. And he also told me that, yes, UFOs and ETs are dimensional. And the reason why it's so difficult for them to prove it, because they slip through the wormholes into the next dimension. So they weave in and out of our dimension. He said Earth is one of those places where everything gets to play out. So it looks like a gigantic circus because everything has the opportunity to play out here. But he said it's not so much what you do, it's who you are.
Well, why can't Earthlings, see the spirits? Why can't we see the UFOs? Why is it that,
Because it's another dimension. It's another dimension. It's kind of like if you were in a house with walls, the spirit would be in the other bedroom, but there's a wall between you. And unless you learn how to see through the wall, you can't see it. All right, now they can appear, and they will do that, and that's how we get all these UFOs in the sky, because they appear in our dimension, and then they zip out, and that's why they disappear so quickly. It's because they're zipping from one dimension into another dimension. And that was one of the things that Gary was very curious about in life, was about UFOs. And he said, yes, they are real, and yes, it is dimensional. Yes, they slip through the cracks. And so if, friends, this house was filled with spirits before Gary left. And the animals sensed it. It's interesting because he told me that he keeps seeing people. And I said, yes, you do, because you're getting ready. It's like a birthing in a hospital always has people around for a person to be born. Well, when we're leaving our body, there's going to be also spirits around to help us cross over. And so
that's very comforting I would imagine, because most people are skeptical. They think, some people obviously think death is it, that's all there's to it. You're done. You don't exist anymore because you don't have a conscience. And so, but what you're saying is that death is just stopping of the body, but the spirit.
That's all it is. You're actually going home to what's more familiar to you than here. This is not home. This is like a school for the soul, if I could put it that way. Earth is like a school for the soul. We come to live out karma we accumulated from other lifetimes to advance our soul. And that's why I say it's not important what you do, it's important who you are. It's who you are inside that's important. So when you let go of the body, you step into the body that your body's inside of. Your physical form is inside of your ethereal form. Your ethereal form is made of light, and it's infused with color. And so when you slip out of the physical form, you comfortably fall into your ethereal form, which is light. It's your light body, and it feels incredibly light. It's like, it's very difficult. One of the things Gary said to me, even though I described to him what I knew about the other side, he said it's only a teeny bit as to what it is. He said you can't imagine it because you haven't been here yet, but it's amazing. It's more, so much more. Because he said it's so experiential, you can't possibly describe it to someone. You have to experience it to understand. Because he said it's so expansive. He said if you could imagine the greatest love you ever had, experiencing it at a cellular level where every cell in your body exploded with it, then maybe you're coming close.
Okay. Very interesting to see. So you're at peace, I would imagine. I'm sure you miss Gary, but
oh, sure.
At the same time, you're at peace, and it must give you a source of comfort knowing that, well, he's okay.
Oh, yeah. He's totally fine. And it's a matter, of course, I have to deal with all the everyday things one has to deal with here when a person is passing. But I went through this experience with my second son passed on, and I was sitting heavy-hearted, so to speak, that heavy feeling one has when they say goodbye to a loved one. And I was sitting meditating in my bedroom, and my higher self came in and said, "You know more than this. What are you doing? Yes, the human doesn't get to have the human here, but you know better. You're in contact with him. You know that he's totally fine. Why are you falling victim to an illusion?"
Mm-hmm.
And I went, "Yeah, that's right. What am I doing? This is crazy." And the interesting thing is I didn't do that with Gary. I have been totally, as you hear me right now, I've been like this ever since he died. Calm. Totally calm.
Wow.
And the reason is because I know he didn't want to be in that body that was just emaciated with cancer. They call it the wasting disease because you waste away, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's not the body. That's not Gary. I can feel Gary and see Gary as who he really is, not that emaciated body. As I watched him pull away, I watched the Gary I knew left a long time before he took his last breath.
Wow.
Right. And so I know that it's an experiential thing, but if we could stop being so afraid of the unknown and so afraid of the end, because it isn't the end. There is no end. We're immortal. The only time that there is an end, if we are cruel, hard-hearted, vicious people who've not served anything for our soul, who've done nothing but damage in our life, we can be dissolved. We can be dissolved. That can happen.
And
as it has happened to a few.
Where is Gary going? I mean, what happens from here?
Oh, there's all kinds of things going on. Right now, he will be going into an area where he'll be doing a life review, and he will be seeing. See, he's not there yet. He's still just playing in the cosmos. Mm-hmm. Got it?
All right.
They let you experience for a while the freedom of consciousness, the freedom of merging with everything, the freedom of seeing those you haven't seen in years. Then he will go into seeing his old life in review. And as you see your life in review, you'll also see options you could have taken and what the end result would have been from the different options. And you see it all at once because you don't have a mind, you're in consciousness, so you can take in everything like the most vast computer there ever was. You are AI at its finest level. Got it?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so everything happens all at once and you get it all at once. And then you sit with a review of your committee that goes over what you feel like, you accomplished, how your soul grew. And then you have a soul group that you connect with as well. And so there's all these processes he'll be going through. And so that's why it took me, I got held back mm-hmm. by my second son by saying, whoa, pull back and let him go through transition. Leave him alone for a few days. So I pulled back and didn't try to contact Gary. I let him come to me. So I could let him go through some of the transitions he needed to go through from passing from this life into his freedom and a new reality. So it's kind of like, if you ever seen the vast sky at night?
Yes.
And there's no end, there's no beginning and no end, that's
right.
kind of where he is. That's where he is.
And how often do you think you'll talk to him over the years?
Don't know. Whenever he wants to come in, if I wanted to call him in, I could, but I wanted to let him go through his natural process first. Some of the things he needs to do.
And Gary's not yet buried, right? He's still in a morgue.
Not yet, what?
Is he buried yet?
Is he? I didn't catch that.
Is he in a cemetery yet?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, he's not going to be in a cemetery. He's going to be cremated, okay. And he wants his ashes in 3 places.
Okay.
He does not want to be buried in the ground. No.
Yeah, I wonder, hopefully not in a while, but I wonder what I will be doing because I certainly don't want to be buried in a coffin, I'd rather be part of the earth, but I think that's against the
mm-hmm.
law. But anyways, going back to...
There's a new thing that they do that's kind of cool. They can make you into stones.
Or they can make you into trees too.
Yeah. You can have a whole basket full of stones and give them to the family and the relatives, and they can put them in their garden or put them in planters, and you can be planted. You can be a tree. Yeah, we turned my ex-husband and my second son's ashes into a Valencia orange tree.
Well, going back to Gary and your three sons, do you talk to other deceased people?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's why I've helped a lot of people who've lost loved ones resolve things. I mean, I could use an example. I had a semi-famous musician come to me. People know who he is, so I won't mention his name. And his partner, in a rage, shot herself. Mm-hmm. And then she wouldn't leave. She wouldn't leave us alone. And so I had to contact him and say, look, we need to complete something here. And so he came to my house. And so I talked to him and he was a skeptic. Okay, first of all, this guy was a real skeptic about whether I really was talking to her or not, right? And she said that she had a lot of issues and deep-seated insecurities. And so it was private information that she gave him, but she handed me this locket. I said that she's handed me a locket, and it has a half of a heart on it. And she wants to give it back to you to free you. She says, in order for you to be free to be with other women in your life, she has to hand you back this locket. And he pulls out, under his shirt, he pulls out a chain with the other half of the locket. It was one of those hearts that's a half. One person wears one half of the heart, and the other one wears the other half of the heart on a chain.
Right.
And he said, you couldn't have known that. I said, no. I was talking to her. What do you mean I could have known that? He said, I just wasn't believing you until you talked about the heart on the chain, because that was a bond that we made to one another a long time ago. It was very sacred, and I don't show people the chain that I wear around my neck. And so that was one of them. But there's been many where I had a young man that died of a drug overdose, and I had to talk to his mother to resolve some issues, unfinished business, and and sometimes they don't come in. Sometimes it's not for a person to know. So I never know. I just open myself up. But I call myself a telephone to the other side, Jim.
Well, can anybody do this?
Of course, but you just have to trust it. It requires a tremendous amount of meditation so you can be open. See, minds are very busy, and you have to quiet the mind to listen. And everybody gets messages. You know that little voice sometimes that comes through and warns you? Like the little, that knower that sent you to the right stoplight to save that family that was in the crosswalk?
Right.
Right. That wasn't just all you. That came from your intuition. That came from the other side. We just don't always listen. We're too preoccupied with our analysis brain. I tell people, if you can live in the mystery and not try to be so mastery, you could be more open to what's really there.
Wow. Well, I think that's a very wonderful thing. And you know something, Jan, we're going to have to continue this conversation next week because we ran out of time here. But I would have to say again, I am very sorry for your loss. But at the same time, it seems like it's not a loss at all.
It isn't. And in fact, I got it so clearly before I died. I said, Gary, it doesn't end here. He said, what do you mean? I said, it doesn't end here. And I said, we'll see what that's about. And now I'm getting it. I do think we're going to get lots of information from Gary. And that lots of information we'll do in podcasts, a book or something. Mm-hmm. Because I think because we are so connected, he's the easiest one for me to connect to.
That's fantastic. Really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, so we'll just have more information for people that they can ask questions if they want.
All right.
Which is okay.
Yeah, Jan, I just want to say thank you so much, and this is actually uplifting for me because I'm glad that you're okay.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm totally fine.
All right. Yeah. Well, with that said, we will continue this conversation, and